Have you ever stayed up until 3 a.m. working on your UX design? Did like 300 iterations in one sitting? Went to bed thinking, this is the best work I've ever made. Then the next morning you wake up and look at it and then think, what is this piece of crap? Yep, that was me. When I first started my career, I hated my own design work all the time and it was bad. But over the years, I've learned some practical tips and wisdom, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. Hey, my name's Aliana. If you love designing for digital products, you are looking at the right channel. Feel free to play this in the background while you work on your design. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss anything. When I was starting out my career, I told myself every day I would get this app to a beautiful, sleek, high-fidelity design tonight. That was delusional. I stayed up late, night after night, trying to force it, but even at 3 a.m., I still hated it. I got stuck in this self-sabotage loop, and it's not just bad for my health, but also for my career. And after working as a UX designer in tech for years, I learned that great design simply takes time. Even a tiny change in a super mature product, let's say Gmail, that will easily take a whole quarter to design. And if a company like Google needs 3 months to design something so small, how on earth can I design a full app in 2 days? Great design takes time. Great design takes many iterations. Great design takes many feedbacks and teamwork. So please don't beat yourself up just because you can't finish a massive scope project before bedtime. Think about this. Did you choose a project with a scope that is way too large to handle? Did you set a timeline that's a bit too tight? Did you sleep enough yesterday? Before I landed my first big tech UX job at eBay, I had never worked on a project with a real design system. I was always the one building it from scratch. But great design relies on a great design system. That is why big companies have a whole team just for design systems. And most of us are product designers. We focus on solving problems, creating flows, collaborating with PMs, while the design system team is there to help make life easier for us. But when I was just starting out, I was trying to build the design system and the product at the same time. And if you are not a strong visual UI designer yet, it is of course going to be difficult and takes much longer time to design a whole new product from scratch. The next one is what many junior designers miss. Great design relies on great content too. If your product has no text, then nobody understands what it does. At eBay, most of our design meetings include 3 people: me, the designer, the product manager, and the content designer. And if the content designer wasn't available, I would still write realistic content to make the design as understandable as possible. So here's an example of a project. Imagine this, but without good text. None of these will ever make sense. And a lot of UX roles today are actually in business-facing products. These are products with tons of industry jargons, and our design needs to make it clear. So words matter a lot. And today, you can use AI tools to help you polish up your text pretty fast. I almost always start with low-fidelity design first. I'm a firm believer that great hi-fi design comes from great lo-fi design. My brain just can't handle low-level design decisions and high-level design decisions at the same time. You can't ask me to pick a perfect shade of blue while also deciding on the full user flow and the layout of the product. That's almost like asking me to paint the wall of this new bedroom while stacking the bricks of the house together. But I've seen people working on user-facing product with solid design system. They can sometimes start directly with hi-fi design, but not for me and not for most products. It is usually wiser to start with the bigger picture first, iterate on the overall user flow and information architecture, finalize on that, and then move to hi-fi design. The moment you start designing in high fidelity, it takes so much more time to edit any detail later on. It's especially a nightmare if you design everything in hi-fi and then decided to change the bigger structure. Just imagine you spending an entire week mapping out a project with over 5,000 components. And then the next day, the leadership comes in and says, you know what? Let's pivot to an AI chatbot. Stuff like that happens all the time, and I've seen way worse. Your design is also only as good as the strategy behind it. Early in my career, I worked on a landing page web design project, but I had no idea what the company was even selling. How am I supposed to design a page that sells something when I don't even know what it is? Similarly, if you're a UX designer in tech, and the leadership doesn't have a clear business strategy for the upcoming year, or you just don't know their strategy because you're a few levels below them, they might tell your product lead, who then tells you to just ideate on possible features that could bring in an extra $100 million. Okay, they won't directly say that, but they might say something like, let's brainstorm features for the next year. And that is a big, huge, giant, magnificent red flag. That is like going into a war with the leader saying to the troops, do your best. Every single designer, every single person in the company needs to work toward a clear business strategy. Without a strategy, we have no direction. So as designers, we need to ask our leader to ask their leader to get a clear strategy moving forward. I was actually once completely lost in a project. I was so burnt out to the extent that I felt the entire world is physically moving, physically spinning, and I thought I wasn't good enough. Until my manager fought hard to get a business strategy to me. Everything clicked just like that. All roadblocks disappeared in a second. So if you're hating your design, maybe it's not your fault. Maybe you just don't know what is the clear business strategy behind the product you are building. Does the company want to go all in on AI? Or do they want to keep retaining old users who hate AI and love spreadsheets? That decision needs to come first so that you can design a good product. With that said, out of all the design work I need to do, I find visual design to be the most iteration-consuming thing. My taste is always a bit higher than my visual design skills, so I often find myself hating my own design. I guess that just means I always have room to improve. And I'm glad that my work isn't very visually focused. It's 90% business focused and then 10% visual, which plays to my natural strength. It is really good to find a job that plays to your natural strength. I hope this was helpful. If you want to learn how UX design is actually done in tech, check out my UX Design Career Accelerator Fast Track UX. If you like this video, you'll probably also like this video. So I will see you in this video, and I will end today's video with this interesting clip.